Can you hear me? Hello, everyone. Can you hear me just now?
Yes, yes, we can hear you. Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you so very much. Hi.
That's not, I can hear you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So, for this evening masterclass, I'll briefly go through Python very, very briefly, and then introduce a new. I won't say a new kid in the block, but Streamlit has been great so far. It's very simple to use as as a web app, and then quickly I'll just dive onto SQL. So it's going to be about an hour or thereabouts. It's going to be a summary of quite a lot, but the most important thing it's going to show you a couple of possible things you can do, and then building on what Doctor did yesterday on Google Analytics. If you watch, everyone is essentially going into the cloud, going into the web, so they can do things from anywhere, share your output to any business department anywhere, make your presentation anywhere, and share things like that. So that's why the focus on web related stuff as the front end of some of our coding and all that. So that's why I'm coming into web app this evening. So I will be looking at Python very briefly, as I mentioned earlier, and then introduce Streamlit, more or less use it. Let's say quite a lot wants to need to do with Streamlit, but just to give us a general overview. So what are web apps? Web apps generally, and then you can access them from anywhere in the world. I mean, once you have your web browser, then you can play with web apps as it were. Now, the beautiful thing with web apps is that there are different types of them, and we've used web apps in so many regards in our interactions with the internet. So we have the static web applications. I mean, those ones, what they do, they just display contents for users. Dynamic ones, you can make inputs to some of those interfaces, and then you get them response. They're a lot more interactive. Your e-commerce, eBay, Amazon, and all that. So that these are all web applications of different sorts. Your social media web applications, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and all that, Instagram, LinkedIn. So these are all different kinds of web applications under the social media applications. And then we have the real-time web applications. Those ones, what they do, they provide your real-time data updates, streaming, real-time streaming. Let me say things like Yahoo Finance, you have prices of a particular commodity, so that kind of real time per minute or per second update. You also have progressive web applications. You have your single page applications, business, so and a whole lot. Now, we're not going to build all this, but it's just to tell us out there are several kinds of web applications. Now, the focus for me this evening is on Streamlit. Now, Streamlit, it's quite easy. It's an easy application to use and to build. You can edit it in real time. It's quite interactive, and it works with different kinds of visualization, and it's quite easy to deploy. Now, some of these might look complex, but once you get into them, you realize there's quite a lot of tools you can use out there to do quite a lot of great stuff. Now, just before I go onto the demo, I'm going to share a job screen. I hope I can find it just now. Just a moment. I will pull over a screen with job advertisements for Streamlit jobs. Let me know if you can see my screen. I think I lost it. Can you still see my screen, yeah?
Yeah, we can see it split. Yeah.
Split. Okay. I'm just trying to pull just a moment. I hope my screen hasn't played a fast one on me. Just a moment. I have quite a lot because of I had to open quite a lot of stuff just to make sure as I pull them across, I don't take time. But then it looks like I've loaded my system so much. I hope this is not going to be a problem. Hopefully it's not. So just give me a moment. I'll call that job page. in a second. Okay, I hope it doesn't do that again this time. Now, can we see? So I just did a search on Indeed with the key term Streamlit, and then you can see quite a lot of outputs, in response to Streamlit. These are all built out new for this particular job, built out new apps using Snowflakes and Streamlit technology. For data scientists, Streamlit. So the pointer is this: everyone essentially wants something you can play with on the web, play with on the in the cloud. So once you're able to build such technologies, it doesn't matter how basic it is, you can always add value to a business, and then you become sought out. So that's why web apps, Google Analytics, and all these kind of tools they're very, very handy for one to have the understanding of them. Okay, so I won't take much of our time. I just want to go straight into the demo because we might have to spend a couple of minutes as we go through some of the basic stuff. Um, is there any question we have at this stage? Any question at the moment? Just as I open up my Python interface. Now, can we all see this Jupyter notebook?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just increase this. Okay. Now, when it comes to Python, for instance, there are several interfaces. You can use Visual Studio Code, PyCharm, Google Colab. There's a whole lot of tools out there, graphic user interface that you can use. Now, for us, we use a number of them, but for this particular presentation, I'm using the Jupyter Notebook. Now, to use the Jupyter Notebook and run Python, you need to first of all import what we call libraries. Now, just using library, for instance, in the general sense of it, if you need a particular information in a particular subject, you go to the library, you go to the section in the library, pull a book, and in 10 minutes, you've gained one or two ideas. So people have written solutions or written ideas into books and stored in a library. So if you look at Python library in that regard, people have developed solutions. All you need to do is to find those solutions or find how to use them. And they will always point you to their GitLab locations and other repositories where they have been able to explain what their solutions provide. So one of the things we need to import is Streamlit. Now, but before you import it, before it becomes available to import, you would have in your command prompt type this pip install Streamlit. Now, when you do this in your CMD, it's going to install Streamlit. And then when that happens, the next time you want to use Streamlit, you just say import Streamlit, as we have here. Import Streamlit. Now, when you import Streamlit, whenever you want to use Streamlit, you always type this word Streamlit. But because you want to minimize the number of times you keep typing Streamlit, you want to shorten it. So what you then do is to say import Streamlit as. You give it a term. You can say st, sy, whatever you want. It then means whenever you make reference to st, Python knows you're talking about Streamlit. Now, I mean, some people can still import Streamlit directly from Jupyter Notebook by putting the exclamation sign before the pip. Once you do that and run this particular exclamation sign, pip install Streamlit, it's going to trigger the installation of Streamlit using your CMD. So I've done those just because some might take a while and all that. So I've imported Streamlit, imported Pandas, Matplotlib, NumPy, and all the rest of them, just to make sure through this masterclass, since it's going to be very brief, we can quickly go through them. But in your own case, at some point, if you haven't used Python before, you can pip install each of these and then import them the way I've presented these before you use them. Now, your data that you want to analyze or your data you want to build your web app for. Now, the purpose of the web app is so that you have done your analysis, you've produced your results, but you want to share them. You want to share them to your managers. And you want to share them, but you want to make it also possible for your managers to decide the visualization they want to see, and they themselves can actually make those selections. So that's where it becomes a lot more interactive rather than the usual. But I'm going to go through a few basic things and then we'll see what exactly I'm trying to make reference to. Now, for this example also, for you to use your data, you need to import your data into the Python environment. So for Jupyter Notebook, and in this example, I've just said, this is my file location where I have my file. I'm using a particular CSV. So the CSV is in this location. And this is the way to import it. I mean, this is the way to import the data. You arrow, exclamation, arrow and quotation mark, and then the entire directory plus the CSV. This is just one method. There are several methods to do this, but this is just one method. Now, when you get the file location, the next thing is to read the file. Now, remember I mentioned when you import things like pandas, for instance, and you say as PD, in this location, you can see PD. I'm just saying pandas. Pandas has a particular method called read_CSV method. What that does is to pick up a CSV in whatever location you say it is, this location, which has been referenced here, and then it does the import. Again, there's a few, one or two things you may want to add, like low memory and a whole lot of different functions that you can find within your read CSV. Now, once you do that, you'll successfully import your data. Now, I'll just run this again. So import and then the head. Now, what the head does is to reveal the first 5 records. Now, this data, that is what it is. This is the first 5 records of my data. So I can actually see my data. I can see the columns that my data has. I can see my retailer column, my retailer ID, my invoice date. I mean, I can begin to make sense, some form of sense in this particular data. I can see my beverage brands. I can see I have, Coca-Cola, Sprite, Fanta, all that. I can see my total price, operating profit, and all that. So the data, becomes obvious. Now, remember, there are different tools you can use. This is the case for Python. If it's Excel, you open it up in Excel, you're going to see the same thing. But for Python, in just 2 lines, get your data, view the data. You're done, basically. And then that's the head. I've had to run some of this code so that it's easier for me to explain, and then we can ask questions if it's necessary. So the head reveals the top 5 records. The tail reveals the bottom 5 records. I can decide to say head 10. So if I run this code, it's going to reveal the first 10 records, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then up to 10. Notice that in Python, the first record is usually given index 0. So it's 0, 1, 2. So the first 10 records is actually from 0 and then to the 9th index. So this is just a first basic introduction at this stage. So you get the head, you get the tail. Then when you begin to look at this data, you realize that the invoice date is actually a date. The price per unit is actually a number because it has decimal, we call it float. The unit sold, it's a number because it's not in decimal form, we can call it an integer and all that. So we'll begin to go into different data types. Now, there's a method, the data frame. This is usually called a data frame. Once you import your data in Python with your PD when you read your data in Python with your pd dot read CSV, what you get is called a data frame. So going over, if you have your data frame.info, it gives you again a first-hand information of your data. It gives you the data type. You have your integer. These are your strings, so they're objects. You have your float, the one I mentioned has decimals, and then your different types of integer. You can have integer 32. So the beauty of some of these is that in Python, just one simple line reveals a whole lot about your data. It tells you that in your data, you have 3,888 rows or entries. That's what it tells you. From the first index to this one, it tells you that you have a total of 12 columns. And when you look at a non-null, it tells you that, oh, interestingly, there's no null. If you had null, one of these numbers would have been less than 3888. So it gives you all that. It gives you the different types of data types you have, and the different categories. Going further, describe. What describe does is it looks at just the numerical values. That is your floats and your integers. And what it does, it gives you the count, the mean, the standard deviation, the minimum value, the 25% percentile, 50 percentile, 75, and then the maximum. Now, so at the end of the day, you can just write 4 basic lines, this one, this, and describe, and you have a whole lot of information out there. So this initial data exploration in Python is essential, but it's not where I'm going to. So I'll more or less take it just a little faster. Now, when you look at the data, for me at all times as a data analyst or data scientist, whichever role I have, every data you receive at the back of your mind, tell yourself this data is not as the quality of this data is not 100%. So essentially, always look at the data, view the data, have a feel of the data, and then can prepare your data, differently. So let me just go back, take one step, and run these codes again, all the way, just one step at a time, and describe. I'm going to skip this particular one because I've already done this before. Now, so what happens is that all I'm doing here is to rename my columns. Now, when my data came earlier, there was no $sign. I had to add $sign. I can always change this to pound. And so for this example, I've run this before, but this is what you do. You can rename a column in Python simply by giving us the old name and then the new name, and then do all that. By the way, this is just because I'm writing this code on a different line. So to go to the next line, I just put my backward slash. And in place equals true means I want this effect to take place in my data, in my current data frame. So again, my focus at the moment is to generate plots. But just before then, I did mention that the invoice date is a date column. Now, it's a good practice, especially for the need for which it is required, to convert your date feature to a date time variable, a date time data type, if it was not originally in date time data type. And to do that is to say, okay, my data frame, and I make reference to my column of interest, and I say PD, remember this is pandas, PD dot, and I say to date time. So I get my data frame, get the column, and it does that. Now, this is not really necessary at this stage, but when you run this code without this, it's going to tell you that, oh, this is going to be deprecated at some point. So remember, I did mention that for Python libraries, people build solutions. and they keep it out there for people to use for free. Sometimes the author may want to change something, just like you have books, you have edition one, first edition, second edition. So what happens is the information in the second edition is slightly different sometimes to the information in the first edition. So for those that write Python libraries and frameworks and all that and key for people to use, when they make an update, it is possible that the way you write the code before, you have to slightly change it. And then they're nice enough to put an information that when you run this code, it might change the next couple of months. So this is the new way to run the code. So that's why I had to run the code this way and this time. Now, we're going to make this code available. But the point is that at the end of the day, as a data analyst, when you've done all your numbers, produce all your calculations and whatever, your manager and the business, those that take the business decisions, they really want to see images, they want to see graphs, they want to see pictures, they want to see visualization. So I have visualizations here, which I've generated, my pie charts and all that. My pie chart, my bar chart, my box plot, my, I think, histogram or so. Now, what happens is this, everything I've done here, I've done them locally. That is to say, they are within my system. But I want to deploy them out there for my managers to see. So I want to build a web app out of these. So that's exactly the point that's just the area I'm trying to go to. Now, to do that, using Streamlit, it's a lot easier. Now, what you have to do is you just go back, everything you have written so far, the codes and everything, just copy them simply into a notepad or into a text editor. When you copy those into a text editor, you save that file as a .py file. Now, when you do that, save it as a .py file, you go to your command prompt and run that particular file from that location. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Can you see this little snippet of my command prompt? Can we see that?
Yes.
The CMD. Yeah?
Yes.
Thank you. So what I've done is I have copied the entire code that I wrote in my Jupyter notebook. I copied it out into a text editor. And I saved it in this particular location. Oh, I think I've lost that. Hold on. Okay. So I saved it in this particular location. My system, I think, is loaded, but I'll be fine. So I saved it in this particular location, the masterclass location. And the file name is called mcapp_1.py. That is Python file. Now, because I have that file in that location, and I've changed my directory to where the file is, all I need to do is to say Streamlit run, and I give it a file name. The moment you do that, Streamlit is going to trigger and begin to display your output in a browser. Now, when I use the word display, you're going to tell Streamlit what to display. Remember, in Jupyter Notebook, you have everything nice and easy here, but Streamlit is not going to see that. So I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. Now, this is the text editor I made reference to. I'll just show you my folder, actually. That's it here. So this is the folder, the masterclass folder. This is the .py file I talked about, this one, the .py file. So all I need to do is to run Streamlit, run this file. That's it, from this location. The moment you do that, Streamlit is going to open up a web application. And that web application is going to come up something like this. This is the Streamlit output of my visualization, but I'll show us how we got to this point. So that's more or less the focus of the presentation this evening. So when we started, we did our imports in our Jupyter notebook. We can see that. That's what I have here. Hold on one sec. I can feel that tab. Okay, I'll just crack on. So you can see I've imported my what's it called? The usual stuff as I showed us in Jupyter Notebook. We got our file location, we got the file, we changed we renamed the columns as we wanted. We got our invoice date to date time. I have also extracted the year and the month from the date. And then I set the invoice date as my index. Now, all these were things I did in my Jupyter notebook. I just copied them over. And then, hold on, this is not active now. Just a moment, that looks like it's not active. I'll just make it active and hopefully I don't break anything. Sorry about this. My system is loaded, I think. Okay, I think I have to close this. I have quite a lot of things running just to make sure it's easy for me to pull this. Oh, this is not. Okay. My text editor is playing tricks on me. Just a moment. I shall get it hopefully to run. And then I'll try and explain what I was talking about. Okay. That's not what I wanted. So that's where we started from. That's where we started from. This is the Jupyter notebook, right? All I did was to copy the Jupyter notebook onto my text editor. There. Okay. For some reason, but I'll send these across for as many that make requests. So we're going to see exactly what I want to say now, but my text editor is frozen just now. Anyway, but what happens is that in Streamlit, you can add a few more, codes that you did not present in your Jupyter notebook, because Streamlit is a different framework, it's a different web app framework. So you have to tell Streamlit what to do to the data. And that's the nice part I wanted to show us, but okay. We'll just leave that for now. Hopefully it will come back alive. Now, but what happened is this. I'll explain and then we'll probably just pick it from there. So what happened is that I had to make a selection of the features or the columns in the original data. And I want those columns to produce a particular visualization. If we go back to our Jupyter notebook, we'll see what I mean. Over here, I want retailer. I'm grouping my data by retailer, right? Group by retailer. And I want to find the total cost, the total sales for each retailer. So I have Bevco, Dreamco, Fizzy Pop, Fizzy Sip, and Soda Pop. Now, but when you come over to my pie chart, I'm not looking at the retailer, I'm looking at the beverage brand, right? Although reference is also to total sales. When you come over to my the same thing here, when you come over to my box plot, I'm making reference to beverage brand and my price. So what I'm just trying to say in Streamlit is this. I have a way of deciding to automatically change from retailer to state to region to beverage type. So you remember I said web app interactive. So Streamlit is quite interactive. So over in my Streamlit, all I need to do is to code at the back of my at the back end these different features. And I'm going to say, okay, for each plot, I want you to look at a particular selection. So I've just nicely named this one for the purpose of this. I say this is what affects the bar chart. This is what affects the pie chart. This is what affects the box plot. So what happens is this: if I go over to my bar chart and the manager that now has this my web app haven't been deployed, that's the deploy button over to the top right. What the manager has to do is, okay, I've looked at the region and I've looked at my total sales by region. I want to now look at my total sales by each retailer on the bar chart, and it automatically changes. It's just the bar chart that's going to change in this regard, depending on what it's pointing to. And the manager will be like, okay, I think I'm done with the retailer and the region. I want to look at the beverage brand. He clicks on it and the beverage brand. Now, remember, these are the codes that you have written behind, and these are the codes that you have written behind at the back end, and the manager has received your web app and they are interacting with your code automatically. So each time they make a selection, your code already has a template to provide them the solution. And the manager can look at the pie chart and decide on, say, okay, I've looked at the regions. I want to see the beverage brands, in pie chart and all that. Now, at Intellenavics, we will show you what kind of plots or charts are useful for a particular kind of feature, your time series and all that. So what is best for your pie chart, what is best for your bar chart and your box plot, and all that. Again, for the box plot, your manager might say, okay, I've looked at the region, I've looked at the price variation, the max price, and all that. I want to look at it, for beverage brand. Again, when you write your code, you might decide to filter the values, filter the features such that it's not every feature that becomes selected, especially if, for instance, in my pie chart, I want to plot just certain features, then you can force those features in your pie charts and then make it a lot more interactive. So that's the beauty of Streamlit. For some interesting reason, the back end is frozen, so that's why I can't otherwise it would have been lovely to see that. But again, I'm going to send this this notepad. Is going to be easier for us to look at. At this stage, do we have any question? Just any question or comment? Any question or comment? Please, somebody say something. Are we still here? Hello? Hello? Oh no. Hello?
Yes, can hear you.
Okay, that's fine. Honestly, I thought I was just alone. I've been speaking.
Your voice is not freezing.
Okay, that's fine. Any question, please?
Hi, Tony. My
Yes.
question is just very simple.
Okay, sir.
So what's the difference between these web applications now and other visualization tools like, say, Power BI or Tableau, for example? Say you've done a dashboard or something like this. Is
Yes.
it possible I think this is also possible to be done in Tableau or Power BI. So what's the how do I say now? How is this how does this compare with
With
in
those.
terms of
Okay.
user experience? or that kind of thing? Just wanted to know.
Yes, I think one beautiful thing with some of those proprietary tools is that apart from the support you get from the developers, the companies, and all that, you know, it's again you expect it to be of higher standard, but you're going to be paying for it. Certain versions will have certain limitations and all that, the cost implication, and you have to buy license, install, and all that. But what I'm trying to say is that it's good. You understand? I'm not demarketing anybody. It's great and it's good. But for the purpose of development, the purpose of quick turnaround, the purpose of testing, the purpose of saying stuff, per second and all that. I mean, all these you can do it in 10 minutes. But for some of those tools, you need to buy the tools first, install and all that and all that. Then if you have them, that's great again. But and these ones also you can deploy them. You don't need somebody to have the tool to view them and all that. So there are loads and loads of advantages. Again, easier to use and all that. But again, I'm not running advantage disadvantage, but based on the question, Streamlit, it's quite easy to use. I mean, every visualization tool, the beauty of it is that these tools out there, they all have their different markets. Different companies use them. It all depends on what you want essentially. But if you have these, you've seen the jobs I showed, it means this is also selling. I don't work for these guys anyway, so I'm just saying this is a tool out there to use. Just go use them, learn them. When you see a new tool, try and use it, learn, and before you know it, you have quite a lot of length and breadth of knowledge. Did that help?
Yes, sure. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any question else? I'm trying to
Can I jump in on that question for a minute?
Yes, doctor.
Yes. So the thing is, I want to look at this question from another perspective now. You've now built visualization using Python, basically. So,
Yes.
but we can do this thing in Power BI, we can do this thing in Tableau, we can do this thing in Excel. So why Python? So, and the answer to that is there are some organizations right now that they are pushing for using more programmatic software. In my organization, particularly, we're pushing going away from stuff like SAS and Excel to be using stuff like Python and R for some reasons, because it is more reproducible, and then you can automate a lot more with it. It reduces lots of human errors, lots of repetitive tasks from man hour, and then it is very, very repeatable. So that is why organizations are pushing for these programmatic tools. So that is why you would go learn Python or Arrow and use this at work. That's number one. And number two is coming from the side that Mr. T talked about right now. Python is free. Excel is not free. Power BI is free, but at organization level, it is not free because you need to get subscription for that. The same thing as Tableau or QuickSight or Click as a case may be. But Python or Arrow is completely free. And the third reason is there are some advanced analysis you would want to perform that Excel will not help you. Power BI wouldn't as well, but Python will do that for you. Say we're going into lots of predictive analytics, diagnostic analytics, you need to go use Python or R. When we go machine learning and doing stuff, you might work in an organization where you need to do some forecasting. Say you're doing financial models and you are moving away from Excel so you can do some forecasting. With machine learning, different algorithms, you need to go use Python. And the last thing I would say is there is the amount of data that you cannot run in Excel. Yesterday, I was running about 900 and something rules. There's the amount of rules it gets to that your Excel will completely crash and it won't work. In that case, you clearly need to come to more powerful tools like this to be able to do your stuffs. So I hope that helps while Mr. T continues.
Thank you, doctor. Okay, so
Oh,
the
sorry,
not
Mr. T.
yes,
Eh,
sir.
If I may ask, how can I access that test editor?
So in your if you have Notepad in your system,
All right.
well, again, if you go to your search and type notes, I think
Yeah.
by default you're going to see Notepad. So Notepad is one of those text editors.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm using Notepad because a lot more with a lot more functionality. Oh, yeah, so the Notepad is back. I did mention that for some weird reason it just got frozen. So it's back and up and running. So I'll just quickly say that you can do quite a lot in Streamlit. You can decide to create your sidebar select boxes, just like as I have here. You can make them check boxes. You can make them multiple drop. You can make them drop down menu. So it has that kind of functionality to develop and deploy your web app. And as I mentioned earlier, I've decided to select features which I want to just plot for my bar chart, my pie chart, my box plot. Again, I've just done it for the purpose of demo. It can be just one feature, but you decide on multiple things to do. And I've also I was using different columns, so this interface will be divided into four, but the charts will not be as large as they are, just to help us view them. But you can see that I have my different charts and I can work on them independently and decide what the outcome will be. And then beyond that point, every other thing begins to happen on interface. Now, this is your back end as data analyst. Whatever you do here, that's what the guys here will see. Now, just one more thing before I quickly move over to something else. I said selected feature by chart. Now, what I did was that selected feature by chart, bar chart, I'm saying make it a select box on my sidebar, which is select box on my sidebar here. Now, what then happens is that I'm calling up features. And what are features? Features are, I'll double click on that. Now, features going back here are columns, the list of the columns in my data frame is my data frame for the masterclass. So in Python, you can make reference to something at a later stage once it has been defined previously. So this is features which I want to select in my select box, and those features are the columns list. Now, once I select my features and I want them for my bar chart, I said, okay, whatever you have selected here, each time you make that selection in your select box, feed it into this select box. Now, once I have my select box, I'm saying come over to my bar chart. Whatever I have selected in my select box from these features using this select box, put it here such that each time I make that selection, it's going to be plotted against the total sales. You get that? So to say that once I make any selection here, automatically it gets plotted, it just changes. But I wrote that line of code once with my select, and each time on the front end. Now, one good thing with this interactivity is if, for instance, your manager just calls and say, hey, could you make this? I just say, oh, so thank you, I'll do that in a moment. You just come here and in one line, you make an adjustment, save this file, and then update it, and that's it. The effect, takes place just like that. So that's one beautiful thing with Streamlit. Now that there are a number of them, but Streamlit is a good tool to use and understand. Once you get hang of it and you go to the probably the advanced, tools, your Django, your Flags, your Java, and all that, then it's a lot, you would have had that understanding before you get there. Any question at this stage? It's something we can conveniently do. Don't worry about these lines of code. And that good thing, doctor said repeatability. what I have here is quite similar to what I have here, which is also similar to what I have here. It's just that little tweak that changes things. And you can share this, and all somebody needs to do is just come over here, change the data, and change one or two references to the columns, and that's it. And every other thing will just plot. And if you know how to do your values and your variables, so this is my um this is my value, this is my variable. So I can always, once you change one of these, you can always affect all the other stuff. Okay, so I shall jump over to SQL as we round up in the next few minutes. Now, the same data I worked on in Python, I've imported it into the Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. So this is the Management Studio interface for my Microsoft SQL Server. But the server obviously is, running at the back end. I'm going to show you something. I hope it's here. If I can find it in my taskbar. Now, for those of us that use Power BI, when we go over to our taskbar, we're going to see the SQL Server running at the background of our um of our what's it called of our Power BI. So although you're using Power BI, but there's a database element of the Power BI which is provided by the SQL server. So the SQL server is running behind, and then we're able to manage that server from the server management um, studio. So I've imported that data, and I did it by creating a database for myself, and then I right click. I went over to task. I went over to import flat file. I went to the location of the flat file, and I was able to import it, and then straight it's right there in your SQL server. That's the file here. Open, and next. Okay, import done. Now, the reason for coming over to SQL Server is some of the files you're going to work with in Python, and in several cases, they might be in a database. And to use them in the database, you need to know how to play with the database essentially. So for SQL, um, if I already have my data imported, oh no, I think my system is frozen. Can you all hear me? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so I think when I lost my oh no, sorry. Just give me a second. I think my system is loaded, so that's why I have quite a lot that just appears to break it. So I'm closing a lot of stuff just to make sure I get this running. And hopefully I'll get it up running in a second. Just give me a second. I shall do that. Um uh, okay, that's my SQL server. Okay. So if we can comment while I do this on the Python, if we have any question or any comment, again, it's just a quick run through, masterclass wise. In the main training, we spend weeks to go through some of these, starting from the very basics and then working our way gradually up to the stage where you can conveniently build some of these, without wasting much of the time. I'm trying to just get this open, try it in a different way. Okay, hopefully this will run. So all I wanted to show was just to play with the same data in SQL database, and write some select statements, write some distinct statements, and again, for you to use your SQL Server Management Studio, you need to install the server and then get the Management Studio up and running, and then go ahead with the with server. Okay, I think I'm having a bit of issue here. So, so maybe Doctor, you could talk about the business. I'll get this running, and then I'll give you a buzz. If that will help in the. But do we have any question now for what I've said so far? If I share this file, the file I have in the Python file, and the one I have in the Notepad for Streamlit. I think we can conveniently use it to do any of those stuff, and then on our own for some form of practice while we get ready for the proper training and all that. Okay, I hope I can get this running. I think I'm almost there. Hopefully this works. And that's me up and running, I think. Okay, that's managed to work. So if I select all the data I have in that table, I think something is not right. Sorry about this. I think I hope I've not lost something. Okay. Yeah, I think I've broken something, so I'll probably get this fixed at the back end while Doctor likely discuss with us about the business generally, and then we'll come back to this. Doctor, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you guys hear me? Hello, can you confirm if you can hear me?
Loud and clear.
Hello? Oh, loud and clear. Amazing, amazing. Yeah. So before I say anything, I'm just gonna ask. Can I hear any person tell me what you feel? As we coming on Python and SQL tonight. So, anybody say anything?
I think they're probably trying to digest it. So
Yeah.
okay, so let me just get onto SQL, and then hopefully
Okay.
they would have thought their questions out. Okay.
All right.
Can you all see my screen just now, please? Hello.
Yeah, we can see the screen. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So for SQL, SQL query language, it's I'll say it's the most important language when it comes to database query, interaction with your databases. And you can use it in your cloud technology. You can use it in um, Hadoop, in Pella. There's several flavor of it in Oracle, in Snowflake. So sometimes when you hear Snowflakes, there's a great component of SQL within it. And so there's a whole lot. So once you understand how to speak this language, you can use it in several areas. It's just like the English language. You don't necessarily need to learn word for word the American English, the Australian English, or South African English. Once you know I'll say the general English, you can actually communicate in several regards and then know and learn a couple of new other stuff. So once you can write a basic Microsoft SQL server, a SQL language, you can play with it, generally speaking. So that same data that we call the data frame in Python, I've now imported that same data into SQL, and I'm calling it a table. So my table MCDA, my database object MCDA, I've just said select asterisk from MCDA. So I'm just saying select all. Remember the last time we said in Python it was 3888 rows. So that's what I've just done. I've selected all from from the table. I might decide to say, okay, I don't want to select all. I want to select just the retailer and the states that the retailers, the retailer and the state. So once I run that code, it just gives me the retailer and the state. I might decide to add the city if I want, and it gives me the retailer, their state, and their city. I said, okay, I want to see what are the, because assuming this record like we looked at yesterday, that was almost a million. It's going to take you 1 million records to keep scrolling down. You don't want to do that. So what if I want to find what is the distinct, what is the unique in another term, distinct retailer, the distinct retailer in that particular table. All I need to say is to select distinct. You can see it's a lot more interactive. Select distinct, select this. So it's a lot more interactive. Now, what if I want to find out if all these different retailers are they in all states? I can just say, okay, select distinct retailer and also add the states. So what it does is it gives you the distinct retailers and the respective states that you can find them. Let me make it region just for the purpose of this example. So I have the respective retailers and their regions. So you can see that Dreamco is in more than one region. Soda Pop is also in more than one region. And then Bevco and Fizzy, SIP, they are just in one. So this is again another form of exploring the data and playing with the data and seeing quite a lot of stuff in the data. You can do quite a lot in SQL. We don't have all the time just now, but you can see how you can play with things. If, for instance, I want to select distinct, let's say beverages, a beverage brand. Now it's going to give me the distinct beverage brand. Sometimes when you do things like this, it helps you to see that you have different spellings of certain things, and then you may want to fix them, you may want to correct something, and all that. So we'll just quickly round up while we prepare our questions with just some, let's say, like I want to create like a flag. So I want to mark. Okay, so let's say for instance, if the retailer, I'll just write something. So in SQL, you comment, line comment with this line comment, and then block comment is this. So anything you write within this block, it's commented out. That means when you run the code, it's not going to be affected. So let's say, for instance, your manager said, okay, I want to find out in the regions. Now I want to find out in the states or in the cities. I want to find out in the cities where the retailer is Soda Pop. Now, if that particular retailer deals in Fanta, I want you to give it a flag 1, because the top management is interested in that particular beverage brand. So we're now saying retailer, we just say Soda Pop. I mean, this is we're just interested in these. Retailer is Soda Pop. We want to see beverage brand, just for instance. Beverage brand is Fanta. So that's what I want. We can just write something. This is a flag. I'm not filtering. I just want to put a flag. I can say, okay, select. I'll say select, for instance, retailer. And I'll say beverage brand. We'll round up here. So I think I've taken most of my time. Beverage brand. And I want to now write just a simple case statement. And that case statement, I'll say case when retailer is equal to soda pop, for instance. Oh, when retailer is equal to soda pop and as a beverage brand is equal to Fanta, then 1, else 0, and I'll say end as a brand flag. This is just, and whatever I'm doing is from my table. So this is just a random stuff I've just made up. So what then happens is that it's going to look at wherever we have I'll get it sorted out, but I just want to scroll down just for us to see if we have a 1. Oh, it looks like we don't have a 1. So reason. This Fanta, I can see it with my eyes that it's Fanta, but the data is telling me something. It looks like either I've made a mistake in my spelling Fanta or there is a space somewhere, right? So if I correct my spelling, voila, it happens. Again, this is just to show that we've gotten our flag and it's like, okay, so what somebody needs to look for is this flag. The person doesn't really need to go through all those data, just look at the flag. And I can do so many stuff with that flag. I can count the flag, I can, do quite a lot. So it's just basic case statement where you make reference to a column or multiple columns, if they're equal to something or not equal to something and all that, and then you can come up with anything. Again, this is general summarized stuff. Do you have any question at this stage? There's a whole lot we can do in SQL. Just make up your mind and get into this journey with us. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening. Do you have any question at this stage? And just before Doctor wraps up. Any question? Or shall I call names? Hello?
Hello.
Yes, any question? Any question, please?
Yeah, good evening. Well done.
Good evening.
I need some clarification.
Okay.
I've actually used this SQL stuff before.
Okay.
So then I was taught that I have to start with create table for me to go into these queries.
Okay.
If I'm correct. But you came from Python and I don't know.
Okay. So
Thank you.
yes, so what happens is so at the training we go through everything from create table, rename table, create database and all that. So but I've found out that in the industry you would yes, you will create table, create database. Sorry, you will create table, create views, but you rarely will create databases. I mean, you might, but very rarely. Secondly, um, there are tools out there just like this one where you just import the data because the data is already there. Import the data into a table. Now, there are instances also, a number of instances where you will need to create a table for a particular data you have. For instance, this particular code I've written here, this is a this can be a table of its own. So I can create a table and get this data into that table. You understand? So this particular data, this can be a table on its own. Yes. So, but because it's a master class, we have to look at a lot of things in a moment. So I didn't go into all those other areas. We normally treat this in 2 weeks. So where we go through everything step by step. Did that help, ma? Hello, did that help?
Not really. Maybe as
Oh,
time
sorry.
goes on.
Oh, no, okay, so what I'm trying to say is this. Okay, so the essence of creating table is to get the table populated. Is that correct?
Yes.
So if you have the data, you you don't need to you don't always need to create the table to get the data into the table. You can import the data into the table.
Okay, I can import the data into the server.
Yes, yes, you can import data. So when you import the data, SQL is going to create the table for you. You just need to accept the table name, or you want to change the name, and
Okay.
the workflow, the the import workflow has create table as part of one thing it does. So it just does it for you. You understand?
Mhm.
Okay. So if you go over to the columns that we have here,
And then,
you're going to see that when you create table, you're going to put all this
yes.
what's it called? Data types. Yes. And then
Yes.
sometimes you have to put your referential integrity, primary key, foreign key. So
Okay.
yes. So this one, in the process of the import, it does it for you. Let me try something if that will help. So I want to go to task. I want to say import data. Um, just wait for a moment. I'll pull over the import window, the import window. I'll say next. I want to choose my data source. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So so the process, this is playing some tricks now. But what happened is that the import process has create table as
Okay.
one of its process. Yes. Yeah. But for the purpose of learning, yes, you create table so that you can see how you can really see how it works and all that. Especially if, for instance, somebody sends the data to you as in an email, name is this, address is this, you may want to create a table to get that into the table. Yes, you can do that.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Any further question just before doctor comes to tell us more about the business? Um, and has any of us gone to the forms or the websites? Because in the website we have the forms, we have like a bigger picture of the business and everything. Doctor?
Hello.
Okay. Hello,
Yeah.
doctor. Okay.
Yeah, I'm with you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah, so I was just trying to find out if they've gone through the what's it called, the forms, the link and all that. Just like you shared with us yesterday.
So I've put in the message already
Oh,
the
great.
link to the data set for yesterday for those that might want to download the data and try building the chart and the dashboard. And I've also shared another link for any person that's interested in enrolling for the full program. So in that link, you would see all of the different topics that are going to be covered for the 8 weeks period from Microsoft Excel through to Power BI, SQL, and Python, as well as all that we'll be doing with regards to the business analysis stream. So any person that is interested, you can fill in the information. Our contacts are there as well. So you can obviously reach out to myself or Miss T. Just you can reach out to any of the numbers, the flyers, and one of us will be speaking with you, or you get to us via email. So, yeah, so that's it. I don't know if there's no question again tonight. Just to let everybody know, tomorrow night is going to be business analysis. So everything we'll be discussing tomorrow won't be like yesterday when we're doing data analysis or today as well. Tomorrow is going to be business analysis that we'll be talking about.
Thank you so much, doctor. So just now I'm sharing the files I've used I've
Okay.
used today. And then and then we can conveniently try our hands on these, and We expect to see your comments because even in the form also you can put your comment. You can send us some comments, and that'll be very helpful. I don't know if we have any other question. In the absence of which we would call it a day today, and then we'll catch up again tomorrow by same time, 7 p.m. All right. Thank you, everyone. We expect your communications this evening, and also would really love to see you tomorrow. So I'll stop sharing just now. Okay, thanks all. We'll call it a day just now. And then thank you so much for joining.
Okay, guys, thank you very much. So we'll catch up again tomorrow. Bye.